Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is your host of My Spiritual GPS, Vivian S. T. Guzman. And My Spiritual GPS is a live TV show that actually features very successful people that have overcome some things in life and through their own spiritual introspection, just like every single one of us that are spiritual beings, we usually know where we are in life, right? Sometimes we're stuck, sometimes we're overcoming some difficulties and challenges, but we need to go all the way to where we want to be. And if you give yourself permission to do that, sometimes life becomes really messy and there's some challenges and obstacles that come along our way. Now, the good news is there's always hope and there's always this aha moment that somehow leads us to where we need to go. That's why it's called GPS, like God Positioning System. So we go through all these obstacles usually for a reason. And today I have three beautiful special guests who are actually Asians in the healthcare field and wellness. And these women have overcome so much in their life, and they're here to share that with you because maybe you resonate with one of them. Maybe you're stuck at your job and you just don't know, it feels like a dead end, and you want to be able to birth something out of you, but you don't know how. So let's all welcome these beautiful ladies: Sabrina Runbeck, Samantha Muy, and Sheena Yap Chen. Hi, ladies. How are you?
Thanks
Doing
for
well.
having us.
Thank you,
We're
Vivian.
good.
Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to introduce every single one of you because I know that you have the authority in your own right. So let me start with Sabrina. Sabrina, how are you? So Sabrina is a cardiothoracic surgery PA, like physician's assistant, with more than 10 years of experience in public health and neuroscience. Welcome, Sabrina. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Vivian, for here, and thanks for watching this show. And we appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you. And then I'm going to introduce Sheena Yap. All right. Sheena, hi, Sheena. How are you doing? You are the
Hi,
founder
Vivian.
of the Tao of Self-Confidence. I love the Tao, just to let you know. All right. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for inviting us to your show, and thank you to everyone who's tuning in. It's such an honor to be here and just to chat with some of these amazing ladies. So thanks again for having us.
Thank you. And last but not least is Samantha Muy. She is a food blogger and a finalist on Food Network's Supermarket Stakeout. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. So excited for the conversation.
I know. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, ladies. So we'll start with this first question. Okay, what made you choose your current profession? So was there something that led you to it? So I'm going to start with Sabrina. Sabrina, go ahead and share your story, like how you ended up doing what you're doing now.
So I'm an only child. I'm only girl among the family of all boys. And I remember my parents and even my grandparents always think, yeah, you're a smart girl, but get your degree, have a good job. And once you get married, everything's settled. That's great for you. And then for me, clearly, I'm like, why should I be the one who sit back and just watch everybody else play out? I want to play football. So when my mom flew and went to the US, I followed her a couple years later. Actually, I took the plane by myself. I was 12 years old at the time. And so I'm always having someone who just believe I know what I want. I'm going to go for it. So 2 bachelor's, 2 masters, and then medical degrees later, I became a physician assistant and picked one of the most intense subspecialty in medicine, which is heart and lung surgery. I remember from family, everybody else like, oh yeah, there's so much you can do in medicine. Why pick heart and lung surgery? You're going to be standing on your feet all day. And now I'm thinking, guess what? It's the #1 killer in the world. I can go anywhere. I can really make the best impact I can have. So I got myself into one of the most renowned in the country and worldwide for heart and lung surgery. And guess what? I thought I made it, but that also comes with competition, demanding of your time hours. Your patients are never going to take a sick day, right? Or holiday. And that led me into thinking, wow, I have so many letters behind my name and I have a good job, quote unquote. That's not how I'm going to sustain it for the next even 1 year. Let's not talk 20 years, right? Like I have so many I can work. And that's went back to background, which is neuroscience and public health, then became an international peak performance speaker and coach to really think about how can we as entrepreneurs, leaders who have all these demanding career, truly save ourselves at least 8 hours out of your work and increase productivity by 30%. So you can get to be the person who's well respected, living your mission, but also have a life that you truly enjoy with the people. That's who you're working hard for.
Exactly. Oh, that's such a beautiful story. And I think it's embedded in our Asian blood to just be very competitive and get some titles behind our names. And then it's interesting because some of us still don't feel good enough, right? With all those things, but sometimes it's that soul searching activities and all these things that happen in our lives, right? And it got you to stop and go, well, I don't know, do I really want to do this? So I hope our audience is learning from all of the shares that you're hearing, because it is super important that you're happy with whatever profession you choose. If you're happy, I'm sure you're not going to just shift, right? But if you have the opportunity, go shift, because that's truly important. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's go to Sheena. Sheena, share with us a little bit of what made you choose your current profession. Why this Tao? I love this, by the way. So please share with us. Did you have some kind of a stressful event that got you to this place, or was it just you were following what your soul wants you to follow?
Thanks for sharing that great question. And it also stemmed from my upbringing, growing up in the Philippines, having a large Chinese family. All I was told was to go to work, get a job, go to school, get married, never rock the boat. And, I worked at a job for 12 years and I always knew that it was not for me. Like I would sit in my cubicle and I'd be like, this can't be the only thing I'm doing till I'm like 60. Like I couldn't picture myself sitting in a cubicle till I was 60 or 65 or till retirement. And what happens after that, right? I mean, we're too old to go out. I'm not saying you're too old, but like, I'd want to experience everything while I still can, like in this present moment. And it wasn't actually until about almost 10 years ago when my aunt passed away from a horrific accident that made me realize how short our life is and that we really have to create this meaning of life that we want, not wasting away. And I'm not saying people who have a job is a bad thing. If you love it, your job is great, but most people hate their jobs. And so you really got to go out there and do it. And it's not an easy feat to like quit your job, sell everything you have and kind of forge your own path, embracing the unknown, because a lot of us, we've been programmed to like think that the unknown is such a bad place. You tend to start thinking the worst of everything, but actually embracing the unknown is where we can find the opportunities. The magic happens there. And I realized, I wanted to find support where I can deal with my own confidence issues because we all have them. And I always felt like I was the only one who was dealing with that, always trying to please other people. I was always afraid of what people might think of me, or I would just second guess every single thing that I would do. And I realized there was no support system out there that was catered to Asian women. There was no representation for Asian women, like highlighting amazing Asian women's stories. And so that's how the Tao of Self-Confidence came about. It's a podcast that interviews Asian women, about their journey to self-confidence. And this is huge because as Asian women, we always feel like we're all alone in our journey. But showcasing the stories makes us realize that we're not alone and they go through the same things and they were able to overcome it. I've been able to interview Asian women from all over the world, from different backgrounds, different career paths. One can fly a plane with her feet, one can skateboard without legs, one writes Christmas songs for a living. I mean, these are, Asian women that you never thought could create a career out of it because we've been so prone to the model minority myth, thinking that all Asian women are quiet and submissive or we're sex objects, right? And that we're way more than that. We're resilient, we're courageous, we're strong, we're persistent, we're creative, we're resourceful. Like we do whatever it takes to like make things happen. And we just have to empower other women through stories and create visibility. And this is why I'm so excited that, we're creating this book together because it's needed. It's 2021 and we still are so underrepresented. And now I'm always trying to find ways to elevate Asian women's voices, help Asian women, forge their own path, be able to break out of their shell so they can live that authentic life.
Yes, beautiful. Thank you. And that is so true, right? Sometimes you just need to hear a story of another Asian woman or a woman for that matter that maybe they feel like they're alone. I think this is not just within Asian culture, but everywhere. Because sometimes when they're heard, right, or when they're seen, that's when they actually come out. Whatever beauty or gifts or talents come out. Thank you for sharing that. All right, let's go to Sam. Sam, so share with us a little bit of what made you choose this profession, and what made you go to that Food Network's supermarket stakeout to begin with.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for sharing your stories. I feel like there's so many themes that resonate with my story. So I honestly draw a lot of my inspiration in life through my childhood. So when I was a childhood, I joke that I came out of my mother's womb at 9 pounds, 3/4 ounces. I was a huge baby. My mom jokes that my brother was the cantaloupe, I was the watermelon. Already when I came out to this world, I was a hungry child. And I joke about it because I write in my cookbook. My mother was completely the opposite of me. She ate for nutrition and she ate bland food. And that was all she really, like, that was her main focus when it came to food. So there's this term called sick, which basically means in Chinese that you're always like wanting to eat. You're always looking for your next meal. And that was me. And it was it was such a stark contrast of what I was getting at home. So at a young age, I was an odd child watching a bunch of cooking shows, and I was truly inspired that chicken could be made in 10 different ways. And even though I had yet to taste that type of chicken, I knew that there was a world of possibility through food. And so, anyways, fast forward, as a child, I was very odd. Like, I just felt like I was always in my own head. I was that type of kid that I would look at my teacher and she would be talking for a whole hour and I'd be daydreaming about all the what if in life. And all of a sudden, school, I'm pretty sure a lot of your guests can relate, but the alarm will ring and I'd be like, oh my gosh, what did she just talk about? And so I didn't do well in academia. And, for a long time, I bit that I wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't say like, I wasn't the smart Asian kid, even though I knew I had something inside of me that was different than most kids. But because I was so like all over the place and I was thinking about this and that and not trying to live my kid experience, I couldn't wait to be adult. So like teachers thought I was challenged. So they would put me in classes and I would be in this situation where I was not fully fed in an academia way. So I always delved deep into my projects. I would think about all these great things I could do, cooking wise, whatever it was. And because of that isolation in that period of time, my peers looked down on me, my teachers looked down on me. I felt really alone. Additionally, I was in an area where I was pretty much I was a very small group of Asian. I did not represent what people thought was the Asian or the typical Asian. And
Right.
because of that, I felt really alone. And for a
Mhm.
lot of part of my childhood, I felt really alone. One, for not fitting in, and I had all these dreams, and it was so confusing as a kid. I'm like, I think I'm gonna do all these crazy things one day, but all these people are telling me like, no, like you stay in your lane, you know. And I've learned over time. So, anyways, many fast forward, I went to culinary school right out of high school because I never applied to college, and that was when I learned how I thrived. I learned that I was a different learner. I was a hands-on person, and that changed kind of the trajectory of my life because I realized I had this passion. And not only did I realize that, I realized I didn't want to just be a chef. I wanted to be a storyteller, and I wanted to connect food, people together. And I didn't know
Right.
how that was because storytelling is not even a wasn't even a thing back then. And I
Yes.
always knew that that was the direction I was going to head in. And then I moved to China in 2015, and I started a culinary blog where I incorporated stories, food, and culture, Chinese culture all together. And that's where I found my identity. I never felt fully American or Chinese, but that was a place I finally felt like it was okay because that's what made me unique. And there was a lot of other people who had that experience. And I was like, I need to tell this experience. So, but then I came back home, went on a detour after I got my after my grad program, and I moved into senior care for 2 years. So I was in healthcare in senior care for 2 years, and I don't even I at the time I didn't know why I was doing it, but I knew I had an affinity with seniors, and I was like, you know what, let's do this. Maybe I can make something for myself. And
Oh, wow.
I witnessed, and as you know, being in the healthcare, you witness a lot of death. And I witnessed the people who are dying with
Yeah.
no regrets and the people who are dying with so much regret. And I
Oh,
realized at the end of your life, two things matter. One is, did you do right to yourself? Did you hold yourself accountable to the things that you said you were going to do? Are you going to have any regrets? And two, how did you do right to others? And when I realized,
mm,
like, this is not where I'm gonna, like, I was like, I do not want to stay in senior care. I love the people and everything, but it's time for me to flap my wings and fly away. And that's when I started to think about this idea of a cookbook. And so I came up with, I recently launched Melting Pot, which is a cookbook that surrounds the story, the recipes surround the stories and not the stories around the recipes. And it's about my Asian American experience that a lot of people can understand. And then to answer your question, how did I do Food Network supermarket stakeout?
mhm.
um Honestly, it was just a random opportunity that came to me this year, and I just told myself I didn't want to make an ass out of myself on TV, and I just joined it and did the competition, and it was such an amazing experience because for so long when I worked in the kitchen, I was
Yep.
always like told not to be never to be the one who's making the food. I always had to be the front of the house, the person who organized everything, managing all these random things, temperatures, but I wasn't the chef, and so it was so validating to me because I was competing against chefs with restaurants and everything, and be able to make it to the finals was just like, you know what, like we
Wow.
can do it. And
Yep.
it also validated me because I was never the type of person to tell people this is who I am. I always felt like work speaks for itself, and I know a lot of Asian American women are like that. We just put our heads down and we work, and we let these things allow it to come to surface. And so that is how my whole experience on Food Network supermarket stakeout. So thank you.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. You guys see, I have like a variety of Asian women here that have gone through a lot of things, and it's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for that. That was a fun story listening to you. Okay, so our next question is, so some of you have already shared your difficulties, but what is really the difficulty that you faced? Like that was your turning point? Because I know like Sam shared a lot of her story. For me, it was really, you know how sometimes you have to go through a lot, right? I had my TIA, like stroke-like symptoms, right? That my whole right side kind of went into some flexion synergy. So I looked like a weird disabled person for 3 weeks. But that was my aha moment because at that
Mm.
time as well, I believe that was the time right after my fourth kid, I had a C-section with Bryson. And I knew I wanted, it was a crossroad, right? This is really a crossroad in our lives. I wanted to go back to work as a physical therapist, but then at the same time, I wanted to open my own clinic, or that was my signal to start working into the energy field, really. And you know how you have these conversations with God? And then I thought, well, if I'm going to die, I don't want to look like this. That's one, a little vanity right there. But at the same time, I also don't want to be disabled because I believe I was only like 36 at that time. And I was like, okay, I need to change something in my life right now, like drastically. So we don't have to have those emergencies for these life-changing moments, right? But then for you, what did you really experience? That was like your turning point and go, well, like Sabrina, you were a PA, and then you're like, well, is this all I'm going to do for the rest of my life? Right? Like, what was that turning point for you to choose where you are now? Go ahead.
Yeah, that's such a great question, and I'm sure all of us have something unique. To me, I was earlier on my career where I still was doing multiple surgeries a day, working 80 plus hours a week. On top of that, taking calls just about every night and going into the hospital on the weekends, additionally, just check on my people. And I remember one day, it was hardly 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm already exhausted because I took call again the night before and slept maybe 3 to 4 hours. Just because when you're on call, your phone is gonna go just nonstop, right? Big and small.
Right.
And I also woke up with a fever of 101 degrees. I felt my body is weak and my hands were cramping. And it wouldn't have been so bad, except those hands were inside a patient's open chest. I just trying to do what I can to get through that surgery. For anybody who are not in heart surgery, particularly, our cases are at least 4 hours long. And I'm the person who's typically just listen to music, chatting with people. It's like, hey, let's do this. And that day I was quiet. So of course, people know me. They're like, Sabrina's quiet is not a good sign, right? This girl need to be chatting and talking. And so one of our nurses took pity on me and keep passing Dayquil and cough drop under my mask. And then I felt so horrible that she had to do it while I'm coughing into my mask. But I survived that day. But when I woke up the next morning, covered with night sweat, I can barely just get out of bed to get a glass of water. Now I had to convince myself, I guess this is it. You can't go anywhere. And I had to call my boss to take that sick day. The answer on the line was, Sabrina, you told me this sooner? That was the first time any jobs of any sort that have done before school or now become this full pay professional. The first time I ever felt that stab in my heart and feeling like you can continue to pour yourself out to multiple different things, then people expect you to function in that level. You're no longer a human being. You are someone who's there to do the job. So the more we say yes, we put ourselves into that position. Nobody else. Keep complaining about the system, the bureaucracy, the restrictions, but you still say yes in the first place. So I had to tell myself, you know what? I can complain all day long. It's not going to change my situation. Let's go back to where I was before, where my neuroscience background, my thesis was on music therapy. How do you use music instruments? Like specifically, I use African hand drum to reduce stress. And my public health degree, my thesis was on self-care, self-efficacy, and health literacy. What I found is it doesn't matter how much you know, it matters on how well you live in yourself. Just one behavior, it propagates into more greatness in your life. And then I start spending thousands of dollars and money training myself, doing reflection, learning from other neuroscientists, performers. And end up with positive intelligence and come up with my simple 6-step system for us to truly tap into the higher level of performance and sustain it, not having these emotional roller coasters. So we
Right.
can truly be someone who enjoy both our passion, our mission, and doing something we're good at, and not get distracted and live the life is how you design it, how you want it to be, and have a clear picture of that, and not just be forced into other people's expectation or your own expectation that's actually holding yourself back.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for that. Awesome. Okay, so let's ask Sheena. So what difficulties did you have to go through, and what made you really choose this Tao way of living, right? To be very self-confident and really follow your path. Go ahead, Sheena.
Thanks for the question. And, one of the things that was a huge wake up call was my aunt's death. I mean, she didn't even reach 60 when she passed away. And it happened so fast that we
Yeah.
were still in disbelief at the time. And it made me really sit down and think, is this the life that I want? Do I just want to work Monday to Friday every single day? Sometimes I would drive to work and I would reach there, and half the time I'm like, how did I get there so fast? I don't know if ever any of you have ever felt that. I have many times. I would already be at the office and I'm like, how did I get here? I knew how I got there, but unconsciously it's how did I get there? And so I realized that, I need to do something, right? It's up to me to create that life. And there were all these signs that just started popping up, right? First thing was I really want to live somewhere, but I don't know where. And out of nowhere, Hawaii popped out on me. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe I'll live in Hawaii, right? I'll figure this out. Another time was, my mortgage was coming up on my condo. And instead of renewing it, I said, I'm just going to sell my condo.
Wow,
And so
that's
I
a good
did. I sold my
move.
condo, I sold all my
Mm.
furniture, and I
Yep.
decided to quit my job at this, the moment my condo was sold. I said, okay, I'm going to quit my job, right? I'm just going to do it. I don't know what's going to happen. And I just did it. And my parents were not happy. So they were livid, actually. And then
Oh my God.
I started looking for ways to go to Hawaii. I decided to go there with my friends just to check it out, and I fell in love with the place. Energetically, there's something about Hawaii that draws people in.
Yes.
And when I left for it, it just kept calling me back. And so I said, okay, I'm going to go. I'm just going to do it and figure things out. And so I was actually able to live in Hawaii for 2 winters, which, if you're from Toronto, Canada, that's a good thing because the winters here are terrible. And from then on, I just kept thinking, how can I help other Asian women do this, right? Or help them kind of forge their own path and thrive and, find a way. And that's when the podcast came out. Because like I mentioned, there was nobody celebrating women's voices, especially Asian women's voices. And growing up, I never had that too. I always thought, maybe I should be a white girl named Heather because that's what being beautiful was. And so this is why I started the podcast, just sharing stories. I had no clue who I was going to interview. I started with people who I knew, my friends, and from then on, just kind of put one step forward to keep giving myself the courage to go out there and just keep doing it and showcase all these amazing women who have been through the worst times of their life and was able to thrive. And so if it wasn't for that, horrific accident, I think I would still be stuck at my job complaining about life, thinking this is all that I was ever good for. Because as women, we're still very we still don't put a lot of value in ourselves. We still think we're not enough, but we're more than enough to go out there and do our own thing.
Yeah, definitely. So there are 2 things that popped out when you were saying that, right? So the first thing I heard you say is the decision, which for me, a definition of decision is to cut everything out of the equation. So because you have this one path that you've decided, which is to leave where you were, sell the house, go to Hawaii, they're all interconnected, right? So when our minds decide, right, when we finally our mind, body, soul, spirit start to talk to one another and you go, okay, I'm going to do this one thing, you'll notice that the resources will be given to you. The universe just orchestrates this giving, and you're supposed to receive, right? So the decision, that's one thing that I've heard from you. And then the other thing is to be open to the infinite possibilities, because if you decide you're going to go, but then it has to look this way and it has to look this way, then you're limiting your options versus you are just open. Okay, I'm deciding I'm moving over here. So now universe, bring me the things, the people that would support me in this decision. And thank you for sharing that. That's so Tao of you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so now let's go to Sam. So Sam, what difficulties did you have to face to get to where you are today? What was that one aha moment that's like the defining moment and you go, I'm going to do whatever I'm doing and I'm going to do this? When was that pivotal moment in your life?
Wow. I feel like there were so many, to be honest with you, but I think I can talk about like the last few years. For example, when I started to think I'm gonna do my cookbook, because I was similar in Sheena's situation. Like I said, I was working in senior care. Although I
Mhm.
love the people, right? I knew I wasn't going anywhere. And I knew I was like, oh my goodness, like, just like wasted my time here? And have I just been fooling around and not really knowing? And I just love to always talk about the people that have been through it with you, because it was my best friend that I would call constantly, being like, I don't know what I'm doing. What the heck am I doing? Will I ever have any opportunities? I know I'm supposed to be doing this and that and this, but I only just talk about it. I'm not about it. And
Yep.
it was my best friend who reminded me, after every conversation. I would drive from San Jose to East Palo Alto every day, and I would talk to her late at night, over and over again. She finally just stopped me and was like, you know what? You
Mhm.
can just keep doing this forever. You and I both know what you want to do, and we both know that you can do that. And
Mhm.
so I'm tired of hearing you complain, but why don't you just do something about it? And so we all became
Yes.
girlfriends. And I was just like, oh my gosh, so you've been annoyed at me the whole time? She's like, yeah, I love you, and I've been listening to you. And so that was like that kick in the ass for me. Like, I'm glad, like, when I hear Sheena, I'm like, you go, girl. You just knew it. That was for you. Sometimes you just need that kick in the ass from your girlfriends or whoever it is around you to just be
Yep.
like, go for it. And so for me, that was who the person that really
Mhm.
kicked it off for me. Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, we do need some form of an intervention and it just wakes you up, right? Especially if it's your best friend, sometimes it's your husband or partner or just somebody close to you. And sometimes we get so comfortable, I think, with the people around us that because we don't see them thriving or growing, and that's kind of normal. You notice this in the Asian family, right? They're used to a certain way, but we don't need to enforce or I guess put our desires on them because they have their own path, they have their own soul purpose. So sometimes it is your partner, sometimes it is your mother or your father or whoever you're close with, right? Like your best friend. um, and you just move on because your life is not going to get better if they keep on stopping you or if you're stopping yourself because you're saying it's their fault because now it's not within you. Now the desire is within us, it's not outside of us, right? It's within us. So if there's this drive inside of you, it's usually coming deep, right? It's not from your head. The mind is not supposed to do, like be the boss. It's our heart. It's our heart. And when you finally find that peaceful, satisfying, joyful place, I think it just the magic begins because the people that you're looking for come to you with ease. It's not like pulling teeth. They just come to you. Do you notice that, ladies?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so what makes you feel happy, successful, or satisfied nowadays? So let's start with Sabrina.
I always talk about this concept of no matter what kind of mission we have in life, how hard we're working now, yes, we have to have that clear pitch, mission, vision, right? You have to know exactly what it looks like and feel like. It's not just about getting to the end, but it's about the everyday little thing that you do that's comfortable and joyful and something that you are in your zone, right? That's what I love talking about when it comes to performance and productivity. So what makes me joy is doing things like this. I get my energy going when people are just so aligned with things. So I would do international talks, TV news, radio, anything that would be with the right people. And same thing with science. I work with people who are just like me, who are ready to dive in, to really know there are things we can do better, but we don't have to kill ourselves over it to get what we need. And so I can live in my desire zone of doing what I love to do and what I'm really good at, because everything else are just distractions. So for me, yes, I love music. I have a music degree. I love dancing. I used to be on dance teams for football, basketball games. And then I love my friends having these conversations, both from a neurological standpoint, which is my background, it just flows, or just have a freaking chat with my friends, who are now become moms, and how life are different even in this pandemic, and start transitioning in that round, right? You can choose to be happy, or choose to fight against yourself or the external expectation to make yourself more miserable.
Exactly. Like for me, I love meditation in the mornings. I do my nature walk. Like I gotta take time for myself, because if I don't prepare myself for the day, right? So I think of a day as a lifetime. So if I don't really set myself up for feeling good, what do you think comes out of you when you're not feeling good, right? So
Exactly.
for me, that's the beginning. And also I end like that. Like I find a different routine at night before I go to bed that I actually feel satisfied. I'm a generator in human design. So I always have to feel satisfied, because that dissatisfaction or frustration, if it builds up, oh Lord, that can explode. And that's not pretty, people. When we're in the negative zone, it just doesn't look very good, and it doesn't feel good, because you're like somebody that runs everybody off, right? So make sure you take care of yourself. Yes, thank you, Sabrina. All right, how about you, Sheena? What makes you feel successful, satisfied, or happy nowadays?
For me, it's having women sending me messages on how the podcast has really helped them change their ways or how they see themselves. They've been able to create side hustles. It's become a full-time business, be able to do things like public speaking, which is very scary for a lot of people. And for me, it's always, if I can help one person, that makes all the difference, because you never know where that one person's going, right? What if that one person was like the next Oprah, right? And you were like the one person who helped that person get to where they are today? That for me is like, that makes it all worth it, because you're, sometimes they say you're just one person away from your greatest destiny. So that's what really makes me happy, and being able to just spend quality time with my family as much as I can. I have a nephew, he's almost 2, and just seeing him learn things like is so amazing. Like, I'm able to teach him how to do a downward dog, and he gets it like right away. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so hilarious. Or, just saying
I know
words
they
out of
look so
nowhere.
cute with their butt up in the air.
Yeah. So just
Oh my
like
God.
teaching him and just seeing him learn all these things like so quickly, it's just so fascinating.
Oh my gosh, that was so much fun. Okay, thank you. Okay, Sam, your turn. What makes you feel successful, satisfied, or happy nowadays?
Yeah. So on a personal level, for me, that looks like, being connected with myself. And that means, is everything in alignment? Like I spend at least, I know this for a fact, I need 2 to 3 hours to myself every single day. I know that's super selfish, but it's not, because I need like 2 hours to dance in my room and get that energy flowing. I
Yep.
need like an hour of podcast or whatever it is I need. I need like that. And on a personal level, I love what Oprah says, because she says like for us, for people, our job on this earth is to be the highest and truest expressions of ourselves. And for me, that means connecting with who I am and being able to showcase to the world what that looks like,
Mhm.
despite all the different society pressures, all the things that we have going on. Like everybody tells you who you are, but knowing like who you are and being able to kind of manifest that into the world. And so that's on the personal level. And for me, the other thing, and I think I resonate a lot with Sheena, what you're saying, that, you know, just changing one person's life, even if all your effort goes into changing one person's life, it's worth it for you. And for me, before a few years ago, I asked myself this question, and it just came out of nowhere. I said, Sam, if you could have any job in the world and money was never an issue, what would that job look like? And then I said to myself, it's so simple. I would just go have coffee with people and listen to their life stories, because that's generally how much I wanted to connect with people. And so, but I remember why going to coffee was such a big deal, and why I thought that was like could be a potential dream job, even though, you know, maybe,
Right.
maybe,
Yep.
who knows? It's because I remember in my early 20s, when I was just starting out and I was just getting my feet back on, and, you know, nobody knew who I was. I was doing my own thing, having fun. And it was the people who saw that potential in me and was able to dream for me when I couldn't dream for myself just yet. And what I mean by that is, when someone does that for you and see that you actually have some type of greatness or whatever it is that you can offer to the world, and they kind of just spur that on, you always will want to do that for somebody else. Like, I don't care
Mhm.
what people say, that is like, if, you know, when you experience that, that changes your life. And that is what leads me day in and day out to keep storytelling, to keep cooking another meal, all these different things. That's what I'm motivated by. So
Beautiful. So you're able to, like, it's like a melting pot, right? You put them all together and then it doesn't taste like the same recipe your grandma has, but then it has a fusion of this and that. Very good. Okay. All right. So we're going to ask the guests, the viewers, if they have any questions for our special guest today. While we're gathering those questions in the comments, whoever's watching us today, thank you so much. This is such an interesting conversation. So what advice, ladies, can you give any woman, whether Asian or whatever they came from, wherever they came from, right? Who are aspiring to be in your position now? Now that you're all happy, satisfied, it's a journey. It doesn't end here. I can tell you it doesn't end here, right? Because my last year doesn't look the same as this year. It's always evolving. So is there any special advice? And you can also share your special free gift to the audience. So we'll start with Sabrina.
Awesome. So my slogan is always, you have to say no to almost everything. Then you can say heck yes to the only things that truly lights you up in life. And now we can all learn systems. Sometimes we don't even have our own internal system. We keep learning other people's system for the world, for the job, for the your community, right? But what about yourself, right? How can you really go against any roadblocks, no matter what, not having these emotional roller coasters? So I do host a free Become a Peak Performance Again blueprint call. I do 3 of those calls a week. So just no pressure. If I can add value to you or not, I'm happy to chat. And if not, I can always direct you to the right resources. And you can go to sabrinarumback.com/blueprint to grab a call. And on there, I will also teach you a 2-minute energy reboot exercise where one of the nurses who just came off a 12-hour shift, I had this exercise with her, and she's like, whoa, yeah, I think I can go for another shift. I'm like, all right, Amy, I think you needed some sleep, but can you imagine how well you perform at a better level to get engaged with your patients, your clients, your family even, if you can just quickly bring your focus and energy back?
Yep, I agree. I'm in for that energy. It's so much more fun when you're actually calm, right? And feeling confident. And like you said, you're just a better person, better performer, a better human with another human, because you're not short or you're not just angry, frustrated, yelling. Because sometimes it's not them, it's just you don't have the energy. I agree. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for that. All right, Sheena, your turn.
So my one tip, and I know this is something as Asian women we're afraid to do, but it's to ask for help. You don't have to be in this journey by yourself. And learning to ask for help can really, give you that shortcut to wherever it is you want to be, whether it's to hire a coach, read a book, follow, connect with like-minded women, be in a group. It really does make a difference when you're not the only one going through your issues, or you have someone checking out your blind spots, right? And
Right.
so some of the things that I do offer is, a 20-minute complimentary self-confidence coaching. I also have a free report called 8 Ways to Boss Up Your Confidence, because a lot of us have a lot of mental blocks that really stop us from doing things, or we go through traumatic experiences that we aren't aware of that's really keeping us from our greatness. So, you can check that out, SheenaYapchan.com. I'm the only Sheena Yapchan on the internet, so I'm not hard to find.
Love it.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much for that and for your genius. All right. So, Sam,
Hello.
go ahead and share with them what advice can you give this ladies that perhaps they want to get to where you are, right? Because finally you, instead of being lost, you found your sweet spot.
Yeah, my best advice is this advice that I've always gotten, was stay in your lane. And to some people, that could sound very derogatory, and that was used to me in a very derogatory way when I was growing up, like just stay in your lane. But for me, I've taken something that was once derogatory, I've taken it and been like, you know what? There is some truth in it, because for me, for a long time, I don't know about you ladies, when you want to fit in, you're trying all these different things. Your friend did basketball, you did basketball. If your friend does dancing, you do dancing. And you never really focus. And I think Sabrina will resonate this with me. It's like we never focused in the lane that was so natural to us, something that makes sense to us, that was something that nobody else can reproduce but yourself. And so I've learned, stay in your lane, because you're never, once you're you tapped into the zone, that sweet spot you're talking about, you're never going to look left or right. You're just going to be chasing what is in front of you. And so for me, if you guys want to connect with me, I will be giving a free recipe from my book. And if you want to read about my Asian American stories and get some recipes, feel free to purchase my book through Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Target. And I'd love to meet you all. And thank you so much for your time today.
Awesome. Wow. Thank you, everyone. So all of these co-authors of mine, by the way, we are part of this beautiful book called Asian Women Who Boss Up, right? That's why that's the title of our show today. How do Asian women boss up? This is not just about healthcare and wellness, but it's really, there might be an author that you would be connecting with that really resonates with your life, right? So if they've done that and they've overcome a lot of the obstacles and they got to this successful place, by the way, you define what that is, right? It doesn't mean you have nice cars, nice house, nice husband, nice boyfriend, nice everything. Maybe that's your definition. So the question is, what is success? What does that really mean to you? Because every little milestone that we go through, we do encounter struggles and some obstacles. That is normal. We are not on planet Earth if we don't go through that. But through those lessons and overcoming those obstacles, that's how we become stronger, and that's how we evolve as the human that we are, and really, really growing, right? That's most important for us. So I hope these stories of these beautiful ladies, Asian women, really inspired you to be the best that you can ever be. And let's just read some of the comments. Annie Hardock is here. She says, hi, ladies. Hi, Annie. I hope you're doing well there. And Teddy Nub said, love this, connecting food with storytelling. So that's to Sam. And Teddy says, it's very true. The job will always be there. One is made often to feel guilty if they took a day off work, right? Whether you're working for someone or whether you're an entrepreneur, because they're sick. I can relate, as I've been there before. So that's beautiful. Thank you, Teddy, for sharing your comments. Thank you so much. So if I believe we have our book coming out in March, right? Don't we have an event coming up by the end of March, ladies? Anybody know when that is?
I
Isn't it
think
March?
sometime in
Uh-huh.
March. We're just finalizing the dates, but yeah, we're gonna have an Asian Women Who Boss Up Summit, virtual summit, which will be amazing. 18, Asian women covering topics to boss up in your own life because it's 2021. Let's start bossing up and create the representation we deserve.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. And I invite you again to tune into this show, My Spiritual GPS. It's every Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time so that you can learn more about maybe your own GPS, like where is this journey taking you? And we will always invite people here that can actually contribute to that topic. So thank you so much for being here. And for those of you who know me that does human MRI and energy work and money magnet activation, we have some classes coming up for you guys. We have the chakra upgrade for these new energies coming in. That's this Thursday, because it's new moon also, 1 to 3, and also on Saturday, we're going to do it from 9 to 11 online. So if you want to kind of upgrade your chakras and energy centers for this new 2021 energy, it's Chinese New Year, people, right? On Friday. So we're going to be doing that, and check out other classes that we're offering. And we hope to see you soon again next Tuesday at 12. Bye for now. Thank you.